Hello to you all in the ASMR community. This is ASMR Reviews. Today I will be reviewing Kendrick Lamar's new album, Damn. Originally, I had begun to work on a retrospective of the Marvel Netflix series, um, but with this album coming out, I figured I wanted to do this instead because it's actually new and yeah, it's kind of overtook um, what I was doing for the time. Um, the plan is to switch back and forth between whispering and soft speaking. Just trying it out, see if anyone enjoys that or not. This is, I believe, his fourth studio album that he's released, and possibly his best one as well. Um, if you are not a fan of the hip hop community, um, or you're not very familiar with it, then um, just in my opinion, Kendrick Lamar is the most creative, innovative, um, deep-thoughted rapper that is out uh, right now, without a question. Um, the complexity in songs he writes and in his lyrics. Um, I can think of maybe one or two other people who can also do that, but in many ways he's in a league of his own as far as I'm concerned in the hip hop community. To start it off, I mean, I have to say I really love this album. As I said, I think this is probably his best one. Um, so how I will do this review is I will just kind of give a brief um, description of each song and the characteristic of the song and how it plays well with uh, the songs before and after, because the album has a very fluid flow to it. Um, and then we'll bring my review to an end after that. The first track on the album is called Blood and is actually more of as an introduction. And so there's singers who start and they ask the question, is it wickedness or is it weakness? Um, he then goes into a story about taking a walk down the street and seeing a blind woman who was looking for something. And when he offers her a helping hand, she shoots him. What's great about this, as just an intro, is that um, if you really examine the story and you examine all the topics that he talks about in the album, the story is basically applicable to all of the topics. The woman can represent multiple things, and then he, as the guy in the story, he also can represent a few different things as well. Um, and that question of weakness or wickedness is also kind of a central theme uh, of the album as well. This track ends with a clip of Fox News as they incorrectly quote one of his lyrics from his previous album, and then they criticize it in response to police brutality, which at this point the track immediately transitions to track 2, which means it's a bit heavier and has more of an aggressive beat to it. And subject matter DNA is really him just talking about just celebrating his black heritage. The track is definitely a direct response to Fox News and conservative critics. And I would say a big part of it is just that he's just saying that he doesn't care about their criticism because he loves his culture, he loves where he's from, and that he won't compromise his values or anything like that, just to be spoken on a positive light on Fox News. Basically, just meaning that their criticism won't change who he is or what he's about. The next track on the album, track 3, is titled Yah, spelled Y-A-H, which I think is both a kind of a funny way of saying yeah, but also may refer to the actual name for God, which is Yahweh. This song is a very relaxed, kind of laid back song. He doesn't even really rap, he really more sings on this. And it's just him kind of talking about the thoughts that he goes through his head. And so he continues to respond to Fox News a little bit. But in this song, one thing he talks about is how important family is to him. And he talks about, for him, it's not important that Fox News criticized him. What's important is that his little niece is proud of him. He also discusses, I guess, different kind of theories on how black people relate to the Bible and things like that. But this song is much more of an introspective response to, I would say, to Fox News, whereas DNA was much more of an outward, angrier response. This is one of my favorites on the album. It's a very short song. It's just 2 short verses. The next song on the album, track 4, is called Element. And this song, he's really talking to his fellow rappers, and there's certainly competition within the hip hop world, and I would say that in this song, he is making the argument for why he is the best rapper, or at least one of the best rappers out right now, and he just details his own personal journey from growing up in Compton to being one of the top artists in hip hop, and just the various trials, tribulations, sacrifices that he's had to make, and he's saying that as a result that he's been through a lot, and it's really turned him into the artist that he is today, and as a result, his passion for it runs very deep. This is one of the funniest choruses, I think personally, that I've heard in recent years. One awesome thing about him is that stuff that he does is that he'll take a chorus and you can accept it at face value, but if you analyze it along with the verses of the lyrics, then the chorus actually takes on a different meaning, which I really enjoy. Track 5 is titled feel. I guess I didn't say this earlier. Track 4, Element, is a little bit, has a bit of a higher tempo, but it still um, maintains a slight relaxed nature, whereas Feel is definitely settles back into a much more much more of a melancholy mood. In this song, he's really talking about the negative emotions and the negative thoughts that are associated with stardom. And with that, and I guess he kind of continues some elements from track 4, where he is talking about how the competition in hip hop and just the ruthlessness of being a star has really allowed him to not trust anyone, and he always feels like somebody's out to get him. It's one of those songs that definitely requires a couple of listen throughs, I would say. And on the song, he features a bassist by the name of Thundercat. They've worked together in the past, and the guy kind of shows up a lot of different places, but yeah, it's a pretty good song, and it transitions perfectly into the next one, which is called Loyalty, track 6. Loyalty features Rihanna, which, as a continuation of the various emotions that he was feeling, in track 5, Loyalty is about basically, as a celebrity, that's what you look for, and you know how, first of all, having money changes the people around you, and changes you as well. And so ultimately, the one thing that they are both looking for is someone that they feel like is loyal to them and loyal to them as a person, not loyal to their money or loyal to their fame. I felt like this song might be the next single. It's either this one or one of the tracks down the line. But I think this one could really work well as a single. The next 4 tracks of the album are opposites of each other. So these next 2 will be direct opposites of each other, and then the 2 after that are going to be direct opposites of each other. So track 7 is called Pride, and so this song has more of a quote unquote humble beat, and it's actually him talking about the negative aspects of being proud and confident. As I said earlier, one of his earlier songs, he was kind of making his claim for being the best rapper. But in this song, he's actually kind of going, but is that a good thing? Should I feel that way about myself? And by him wanting to maintain some humility in his life. And also just how perhaps being prideful about his abilities as a rapper can affect his the other aspects of his life. I mean, the whole album has a lot of religious themes in it. He references a lot of Bible verses and things like that. And this track is no different. Track 8 is called Humble, which is the exact opposite. However, that beat is much more bombastic and in your face, and it's more of a prideful beat. And the song itself is much more confident. It's this was his first single, so I think if you are aware of hip hop in any way, I'm sure you already know the song. Um, but part of the genius of this song is that it both works in a way that it's him, again, making a claim that he's better than a lot of the rappers that are out right now. But on the other hand, it also works as a commentary on hip hop and on the fact that um, so much of it is just a guy bragging about the various things that he does in his life. And so it's kind of a commentary on, like, should that be what you spend your time talking about? Um, but having already heard the single before the album came out, there's a part of it for me personally that always kind of feels like the song is out of place. I actually really would like it if it were possible that I could hear this album without having heard the single. The next track, I believe we are on track 8. Um, Sorry, track 9. Track 8 is Humble. But this track 9 is Lust. Um, Something that is really awesome about Kendrick Lamar is that if he's talking about sex, or it seems like that he's talking about sex, you can almost guarantee that he's not actually talking about sex at all. He's using sex as a metaphor for something else. And that's definitely true with this song. This song is really about luxury and how I say luxury in both celebrity lifestyle, but also luxury in the everyday consumer's lifestyle as well. And it just talks about just the strong desire um, to experience all these things that make us feel good, and often that becomes the point of our life. Is whether it's sex or whether it's a show or whether it's drinking or something like that. We all have these things that we enjoy, and we will then order our lives to allow us to do that thing as much as possible. Basically saying that we all have our vices, and it's just more of an introspective look at that fact. Track 10 is called Love, as it is presumably the opposite of lust. This is the other song that I believe could be the next single. I think it could work really well in that capacity as well. And this is a song, it's a bit more of a ballad, and it's just, well, Kendrick Lamar is actually engaged, so he could be referring specifically to his fiancée, but I think more than that, I think he's referring to what happens once you get money and perhaps even fame, which is that you can't trust that anybody loves you for that reason. And he's basically just asking, do you love me for me, or do you love the things that I have? But there's a bit of some 80s vibe in the song, at least to me. And no, I like it a lot. The melody to the song is very catchy. And yeah, again, the subject matter isn't just about partying or anything like that, as you find with a lot of singles and a lot of songs on the radio. But this was really asking, what is his relationship built on? Is it built on real love, or is it just built on next track, track 11, is called X, and features U2. Definitely an odd pairing, the legendary rock band with the hip hop artist, but I think it works really well. This song is segmented. They're kind of three different sections, kind of. You have the first part where I would say he's kind of taking the role of more of a typical rapper, bragging about his various street accomplishments, learning how to rap, maybe selling drugs on the street, maybe, having killed someone or something like that. But then the second part, which is a very loud, in-your-face beat and kind of moment in the song, is he's telling a story of a friend whose son was killed over drug money and calls him for advice, and he talks about, knowing that he should have told him to, approach the situation a different way, but instead he advises him to go and get revenge on the people who killed his son, which then breaks into the third part of the song, which kind of talks about the other side of the country where we talk about things like gun control and all that kind of stuff. And so with that, he kind of creates this big picture where you see we have this country that has a lot of higher moral ideas, but there are definitely places throughout the country where those type of morals aren't being taught and aren't really accessible to people. And then the world then punishes those people. So, saying that for a black kid who may have grown up in a really underprivileged area, where their education isn't funded and things like that, he doesn't really have anything else to turn to except what's surrounding his environment, which unfortunately might be very negative. So he grows up in this environment, does something, commits a crime, goes to jail, and that's kind of the end of his life there. And so this is a really good song. I mean, like I said, just because it creates us a clear picture. Also, it is the third section. Is when U2 comes in, the beat switches, and brings in the piano, and the tempo slows a little bit, and it gets more relaxed, which is a direct contradiction to the driving part of the second section of the song. Really awesome song. Track 12 is called Fear. This is one of my favorites on the album. I know my first time listening through it, this was one of the ones that really kind of made me stop and really think about what he was saying. He talks about a few different things in the song. So the verses, the three verses, and the first verse is from the perspective of a 7-year-old, presumably him. The second verse is from the perspective of a 17-year-old, and then in the third verse he takes more of a personal voice, and it's from his perspective when he's 27. Now, again, the other two verses may be from his perspective as well, but he doesn't quite state that implicitly, whereas in the third verse, he makes that known that he's definitely talking about his own experiences. The intro starts off with a voicemail from a cousin who was reading some scriptures to him and telling him why he believes black people have suffered in America, which was that we haven't lived right before God. His cousin is religious. And then the first verse, from the perspective of a 7-year-old, is it's mostly his mother talking to him, and her talking about, if he does all these things, how much he's going to beat him. And so from these two things alone, what I kind of feel like he's getting at is how much fear runs throughout the Black community. So whether it's family or religion, the prime motivator is fear. In verse 2, as a 17-year-old, he talks about, fearing all different ways that you could die, whether it's police brutality or getting caught up, wrong place, wrong time, or it's a random tragedy. And so in this verse, we get to see how much, living in fear, like I said, whether it's family life or religious life, has begun to affect his outlook on life itself. And then in the third verse, which is 27, which when he's 27, he just talks about, he experienced success, in the hip hop world at this point in time, and so now he was afraid of losing all his money and losing everything that he had gained. And so from this, we just see that he's really kind of asking, why has he never been able to live without fear? Why does fear have to be a part of kind of every single stage of his life? And I don't know. As a member of the Black community, especially in the first verse and the second verse, I've definitely have experienced those emotions. I was lucky, and my parents weren't extremely tough on me or anything like that. But I know I had friends whose parents were, and yeah, they definitely worked to make the children fear the parents as much as possible. And yeah, it really kind of makes you kind of think about how I don't have any children currently, so if I were to ever have children in the future, how would I want to talk to them? I certainly wouldn't want them to fear me, and I wouldn't want to cripple them in that way early on. I don't know. This is a really great track. It puts a lot on your mind. Track 13 is called God, and this is a great example of how he can take a course that, if you take it at face value, is very much of a typical hip hop course, but when you really examine the lyrics deeply, the course takes on a different meaning. So the course is just him bragging about having money and, all the things that he has. But it's a little goofy in how his voice sounds and things like that. And so really what the song is about is the cockiness of a lot of rappers and people in general. But if you're religious at all, or whatever the case may be, how you should really have humility. And so the first verse is he's bragging a lot, and then the second verse is more of how his ego gets crushed by God. And so I see the song as both kind of him talking to himself, but also him talking to other rappers that, all the pride that they exude all the time is not necessary, and compared to God, they have nothing to be prideful about. Again, if you're not religious, of course, it may not mean as much to you, and I can't say that I exactly am either, but I did grow up in church, and so, regardless of whether or not you're religious or not, humility is not a bad trait to have. The video's been going for a while, so I'll try to wrap this up. The finals track 14, is called Duckworth. And in this story, talks about how Top Dog first signed Kendrick Lamar when he was 15. How that guy and Kendrick's father were enemies a long time ago, and they were both in Compton. And so I guess apparently there was a time when the guy who would become top dog was threatening to kill Kendrick Lamar's father. Um, and so he just details that, how Top Dog and his father worked it out. And thus he's just saying, had Top Dog gone on and killed Ducky for the problems they were having, then that would have definitely altered Kendrick Lamar's life, and he wouldn't have become a rapper. Top Dog would have gone to jail, and just life would have been very, very different. And so I would say this is kind of a song to the black community as well, encouraging us to strive for better. Just saying, you don't have to kill someone or anything like that, because you never know what's going to happen. You never want to end someone's life. The second half of the song is he goes to a few different songs of the album, but he plays them in reverse, and then it ends with the first line of the story from track one, which is that he says, "I was taking a walk the other day," and yeah, that's how the album ends. It's a great album. Again, if you have any interest in hip hop or you like hip hop, then I think this is an album you really enjoy. Again, there's a lot of swearing on it, so if you can't really handle that, then it may not be for you. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope your day is going well, your night is going well, depending on what time you're listening to this. And I will see you later. Thanks.